Hi everybody, welcome back to Mando Lessons. As you can tell, this is not a mandolin, this is a 6-string guitar. This is a little series I'm going to be doing on learning to follow 6-string guitar players. More often than not, if you're a mandolin player, at some point in your music playing career, you're going to be asked to follow a guitar player. You know, there's going to be a guitar player strumming some chords, and you're going to need to follow what they're doing and try to make that music sound as as polished as possible without necessarily even knowing the song that's getting played. So what I'm going to do here is just go through a couple common guitar chord shapes that you should learn even if you don't play the guitar. Just recognizing these chord shapes can be really helpful so that you can follow it. And, you know, if you see a G chord on a guitar, you know what it looks like and you can play a G chord on the mandolin. So just from a purely sort of visual standpoint, this is one of the first things I learned to do. Mandolin was my first instrument, and I quickly learned going to bluegrass festivals and various music sessions and jams that I need to know what guitar chords look like, because the guitar is a very popular instrument. It's going to be in most jams you're in a bluegrass and old time and Irish and everything jam. So learning what guitar chords look like, even if you don't know how to play them yourself, is an important thing. So I just want to run through a couple common keys and common chord shapes that you'll find in being played by a guitar. So let's start with the key of C. This is a C chord. Sounds like this. And then here's an F chord. Some people will do like this. People will use different fingers. Sometimes it'll look like this. Some people will do a bar chord. Some people will add their thumb. And then back. So the C and F look very similar. And then your 5 chord, the third chord in the key of C, is a G chord. Again, people play it in different ways. Some people will play it like this. Some people will add in their pinky. Some people will play it like this. And then back to C. I think the easiest thing for the key of C, because the chords often look very similar, is to recognize sort of that kind of angled shape on the left hand of the guitar player. And if that's sort of staying in that area, it's often going to be a C chord. Moving on, another common key that you'll see guitar players playing in is the key of G. We've already seen a G chord. Or maybe this. And then a C chord, you already know, that's your 4 chord. And then the third chord you'll see in the key of G is a D chord, this little triangle on the high strings. Then back to G maybe. So that's a little more easy to recognize. You have this kind of more common G chord, that same slanty chord for C, and your little triangle for D. And the last key that you'll often find people, and these are just kind of the most common, some people will play in other keys, but these are the most common keys that you'll find. One more is the key of D, starts with the little triangle on the high strings, then goes to the G chord, and then so that's the 4 chord is the G, and the last chord in the key of D, the 5 chord, is an A chord, which is just these 3 strings, all on the 2nd fret. I use 2 fingers. Some people will use 3 fingers. Everybody does a little different. Oops. And then back to D. So it looks like this in the key of D. maybe like this. And the last chord shape, chord combination that you'll see guitar players play, again, mostly in a folk or bluegrass context, is the key of A. We already know two of the chords. We have an A chord, what we're on right now, and a D chord, that little triangle, and then an E chord, which is on these lower strings. Again, some people use 3 fingers, and then back to A. I use 2 fingers sometimes for that D chord. The E chord. But often, and it'll take a little bit of time to sort of get these chord shapes under, at least into your head. If you have access to a 6-string guitar, learning a couple 6-string guitar chords can be hugely beneficial, just so you have some muscle memory associated with your visuals of, okay, that looks like a G chord, C, D, A, E, F. But often, just by looking and seeing, like, okay, I recognize that, it's a C chord, so maybe it's in the key of C, maybe it's in the key of G. A little bit of trial and error, and you'll start to pick up on these things. So that's the kind of the bulk of this lesson. In future parts of this series, I'm going to talk about how guitar players use capos and how to match that on the mandolin, as well as talking about some common bass runs that guitar players will use, so that you can hear them and sort of have an idea of what chord is coming next. Again, this is not an exhaustive list of all the guitar chords there are and all the guitar chords you'll see. People play bar chords on the guitar. There's minor chords, but for the bulk of bluegrass and old time music, there's a lot of just sort of major chord songs and tunes. And getting a handle on what some of those look like can be a really helpful process, which is what this lesson's aiming to do. I hope you find it helpful. If you want some actual mandolin lessons, check out mandolessons.com. There's tons of free information there. There's a couple ways to donate, but all the information is free at the end of the day. So I hope you'll make use of it and get out there and play some music. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.